Hey guys, this is Imp from Black Talon Gaming, and welcome to my exploration of Star Trek Online. Specifically, I'm going to tell you how you can make the most of your time in this game and make as many energy credits as possible. I'd previously done a video on this same exact topic approximately 3 years ago on my other YouTube channel. I've left that video up, and if I find it, I'll link it, but it has a lot of outdated information. The game has changed a lot since then, and I'm going to go ahead and discuss and tell you some of the new ways that have come out on how to make as many energy credits as you possibly can. Alright, so the first thing we're going to concentrate on would be ways that you can make energy credits, or things that you can do while accomplishing the various campaign missions, the storyline missions, while you're leveling up. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, it's very similar to what I used to advise people to do. Back around 3 years ago, we used to have these exploration zones, like the Araucanis Arm and somewhere else, and you could go in there and you could totally do those exploration missions, knock one out in easily an hour. You could knock one out easily in an hour. And the biggest thing for me when I did those, not only was I, farming experience and new equipment and stuff like that, but I was also looking for the crafting components. Well, what would eventually become crafting components. And when you're completing missions now, you should still look to taking on those little mini games and getting as many of those crafting components as you can, because in terms of commodities and commodity trading, like, you'll get a good bit more money for selling crafting components on the exchange as opposed to just some random ground weapons that you get for filling out your Omega tiers or what have you. So that's my first bit of advice, is when you're doing the mission, when you're doing the campaigns, don't leave anything behind. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to my second point. And I think this is something that I focused on in the last video as well. But if you really want to get good at, or if you really want to make a lot of EC, and you want to do it kind of passively without necessarily a lot of interaction, you can always use the exchange. And I love playing the exchange because I don't have to really move my character about. I can log on, I can do my what the heck are these called? Duty officers. I can do my duty officer missions and then do my duty. No, but I can do my duty officer missions and my exchange stuff all at the same time, and I don't have to do anything. And I can also from here fill out queues that I need for, reputation, for Omega reputation or this or that. So if we go on the exchange, I'll go ahead and show you one of the ways that I like to make money. Is I like to deal, like I said, in the commodities. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to look up whatever the current price is on, not commodities, crafting components, sorry. I'm going to look at the current prices on Tritanium. Alright, Tritanium is $48.99, and I know for a fact that every bit of Tritanium that I've bought on this account, I bought for less than $2,500. So right now I'm in a good position. At any time I can just sell one for $44.99, and it'll get bought up like that, and I've made profit on it. So much so that at this point I'm kind of like, I do it haphazardly, like really not dedicated. I've got a 800,000 EC, which isn't a lot. It isn't a lot at all. But if we go to my R&D stuff, you can see I have, 999 of Verteron and half a grand of Trite. So I've got a lot of stuff sitting around that I can sell, and whenever the market goes bad and shifts bad, I just stop trading in that commodity and I'll move to Verteron. If things are going bad in everything that I usually trade in, and I try not to. This is my recommendation: is pick one or two things that you think you'd be good at trading in, and you want to be able to know those numbers kind of by heart. Don't try to trade in everything unless, I guess, you've got a really one of those photographic memory type things going on. But my recommendation is just to stick to one or two things, and when the market breaks bad on those two things, go out and adventure. You know what I'm saying? The goal for me is, of course, and well, I don't really have any particular goal. I just want to be able to have enough money to buy as many lockbox keys as I want, because I want to crack open some big lockbox stashes for y'all just to show off. But that does bring me to another thing. Is it may seem advantageous, it may seem really smart to buy and resell lockbox keys, and they sell for several million. Here, let's take a look. Yeah, they're selling like between 4 and 5 million. But if we go up to the higher end of it, this is what makes lockbox keys. It's really hard for you to it's really hard for you to make money with lockbox keys, because it is everybody who has lockbox keys, they're very sensitive to the price. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might be able to get like 50 grand here or 50 grand there, down from what a key should be costing. But when we're talking about a commodity that costs 4 to 5 million, 50 grand is, approximately 1%. You know what I'm saying? And you can get much better percentages if you're willing to put in the time for tritanium. Like tritanium, right now on tritanium, if I were to sell them all at $44.99, I would be getting, roughly 40% or so. No, good bit higher, probably 55%. So it comes down to, do I want to make 1% off master keys, or do I want to make 55% off trite? The only real big difference is that with master keys, it's gonna be a lot less activity, a lot less involved for you. But neither one of them is really it's not really too much more tedious to have to put 5 auctions or 10 auctions up than it is to have to put 2 or 3 auctions up. You get what I'm saying? Now, it would be cool if, I don't know, okay, so right now, if I were to go to the lowest 10s,
there will be a short downtime for the exchange at 1400.
Yeah, I think this would be probably the lowest 10 unit, would be 4.6 million, 4.65 million per key. And then you're having to compete with a market that's already at 4.8 million. So you're making a little less than 200,000. So yeah, I mean, you're making...
An update to the platinum exchange rate is available on the monitors.
You're making approximately 4%, give or take. So I don't know, that's not worth it to me. And I think the amount of, even though the raw numbers of how much you're making per each given trade, like you make 200,000 on one key, that's roughly like 10 to 12 trades for me with tritanium. Or yeah, 10 or 12, because another thing that you forget is that, yeah, it might be my bottom 5 trades might be stacks of 1 unit each to kind of capture that bottommost tier, but my topmost trades are going to be stacks of 50 and 100, you know what I'm saying? And then I really am dealing with numbers very similar to what the master keys can produce, and I'm definitely doing more in terms of profit. So long story short, buy low, sell high. It might seem awesome to do master keys. You're going to make like 200,000 per key, but you can make that same amount with 999 trite easily. You're going to blow master keys out of the water with trite. You're going to blow master keys out of the water with pretty much any of the R&D commodities. Whether or not that's true for the actual commodities, I could not tell you. Like, this is where like communication arrays and stuff like that. I think most of the, these actual commodities come from DOF missions where people have received them for cheap or free or what have you, and then they put them up there. So I mean, there might be a little capacity to make some money. But yeah, so auction. Super easy, super simple, and it's something that I covered last time. Let's go and remind people, or if you haven't seen my other video, I guess this won't be a reminder, but just the Zen auction, which is going to be, or excuse me, yeah, the Zen auction, whatever it's called. Alright, so the Dilithium exchange / Zen auction. And anytime I log on, I like to do this, and right now you'll see that I had recently had an order where I made I had bought 250 Zen and I had sold 250 Zen for the equivalent of Dilithium. And it's pretty much this is what I do. Let me go ahead and withdraw these. Alright, so I checked the market. I see that people currently are selling at 334 and people are buying at 333. Alright, when you're selling, you want to be
the shuttle to Saturn will leave in 0830 hours.
Sorry, I'm having to do this for the first time and kind of think about it in my head. I'm like, okay, do I want to be above or below? Hold on, 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so I'm placing an order to buy, so I want to be lower. Alright, so, and these are what people are selling. I'm going to be going for, like, whatever this number is right here, 334. You want to go either 1 or 2 below that, so I'm going to go 333. And I know that my amount previously had been 250, so I should be okay. So apparently the market went up a little bit. 245, there we go. Submit offer to buy, okay. Alright, so 245, and now I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna submit a offer to sell, and what I want is to sell at 1 higher or 2 higher than whatever I'm buying at. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And so essentially after that you turn it off. Eventually the orders will fill, hopefully. If there's not a lot of price movement, which there usually isn't on this, or if you've got a large amount of Zen. If you've got a large amount of Zen, you can kind of anchor it for a period of time. But usually there's not even that much price movement. Like maybe once every 2 months I'll have a price movement to where one of my orders will execute and the other won't. And in which case you do lose a little bit. Not really though, like that's convoluted process. I think if you really want to keep on track of that, keep on top of that, just know what orders did fill and what orders didn't, and you would have to keep a notebook of it. And if an order didn't fill, write down the order, and then later you can attempt to balance it. But in the end, like if the prices are so stable and there's so very little movement, that you're going to be able to fill, like, I think literally I probably did, yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely sure that in the past couple of weeks I've done over 100 of these, and all of them filled, so in each time I'm making 245 dilithium, and that's my next point, so don't get hung up on that. But each time I'm making 245 dilithium, so it's not really, to lose one out, to have one buy order not filled is not really that big of a deal to me, you know what I'm saying? And you'll see, because you'll be playing and you'll be, oh, 1 week I'm buying for 150, and the next week I'm buying for 155, and next week I'm going for 160, 160. You're going to see your Zen values rise. That's how you keep track of whether you're doing good or bad. When you start having to, like 1 week I was selling for 250 and you just saw, and now I'm selling for 245, that was largely due to a price movement, because I haven't, if you look at it, the last one was on 4:30, so it's been 6 days or so. There's been a price movement since those orders filled, which is why, yeah, I did lose 5 Zen in the process. So that's another thing, is if you're not on top of it every day, you do stand to lose some money in that. And my advice to you is, if you're going to take a break from it, and if you're going to take a break from it, my recommendation is to convert everything to Zen, because prices do tend to trend downwards. Not always, but sometimes. Okay, so that's the Dilithium exchange. Basic thing, same thing, buy low, sell high. Only ostensibly in this time, you're buying and selling at the same time, so that you're generating dilithium. And you're generating dilithium in the equivalent amount of whatever Zen amount that you're buying and selling for. In this case, it's only 245 dilithium, but you can easily see if I had 2,000 dilithium, I'd be making 1,000 dilithium per both executed orders. And we look at our kind of stable mark right now, and our stable mark are both over, close to 20,000 for the buys and close to 15,000 for the sells. So no one's gonna bat an eye if you're dropping 1,000 for each thing. And then if you look at it, there are so many, there are hundreds of thousands of dilithium and hundreds of thousands of Zen worth of orders that are still left in the system that haven't yet expired. So if you want to go big, by all means, feel free to do it. And in all honesty, the more big bets we have placed in the system, the more secure, the less volatile the less volatile the market will be. So the less likely that your orders will become obsolete because the market shifted out from underneath you. What's really cool about that is eventually, if there's a lot of people that are just placing bets, for example, if everybody saw this video and decided you could just come online and just dump all their Zen into buying and selling at the same time, like I'm doing, and we got 500 or 600,000 Zen worth of orders on both sides of it, it's never going to move from 334 or 335, or it might occasionally, but very seldom. And what's going to happen is that the consumers who are buying it or selling it, I would say that anybody that's in any auction, the price taker is the person who wants to buy or sell the quickest, whereas the price giver is the person who's willing to wait. And you always, and that's kind of like an economic term, you always want to be the price giver, not the price taker, if you can help it. But in that case, if there was such a high amount, then the people that would be coming for quick buys or quick sells, they would just be price takers. It'd be like them walking into Walmart and, well, I can't, they'd be like, oh, I can't argue over the cost of this candy bar or whatever. It's just $3.34. That's how much a candy bar costs. And that's exactly what would happen if a lot of people start chucking their Zen at the wall. All right, so that's the Zen market. The major way to make energy credits, and the way that's changed from my previous video, has to deal with the duty officer mission system. And if you go into the duty officer system, the best way to make energy credits at this point is probably by doing several of these assignment chains, and I'm not sure if I completed them on this character or not, but let's see. Colonization of the Delta Valanus cluster is an example, and yeah, I haven't completed them, but you can see you get a unique blue duty officer, and just repeating these missions is a great way to generate duty officers. And you sell the duty officers on the exchange, and duty officers go for pretty high amounts. And that's another thing, is if you don't want to trade R&D resources, you could always trade duty officers. However, I would warn against that, because you have or at least I have you may not, because you might have expanded your roster, but I've only got 100 slots in my duty officers, so I don't have
Shuttle arriving at Dock Bay 6.
enough stock of duty officers to make it worthwhile for me. And plus that, the extra duty officers that I'm holding on to sell later, they would just eat up space in my inventory. So that's not, you know, it's not really something I can do or something that I want to do. Whereas opposed to my R&D stuff, like I can just keep going for freaking ever pretty much. If I absolutely need to, I can start storing them in my bank and all sorts of stuff. But that being said, making new duty officers and then putting them up on auctions never a bad way, because since you're not sensitive to the price that you bought at, which is a way to say that the price that you bought at was essentially zero, or the time that you put into accomplishing the mission. Since you're not sensitive to the price that you bought at, you can afford to be a little bit more lax when you're selling your duty officer. So chances are your duty officer is not going to stick around in your inventory for long at all. Whereas if you're buying them and reselling them on and off the exchange, if you have a price shift and it goes downwards after you've bought a whole bunch of duty officers, you may be stuck for a couple of months with duty officers that you can't or don't want to sell because you're going to lose money off of them. Whereas if you're making them through the mission applications, you know, that's not really a concern. And I would say that duty officers are like the new way that people get tons of EC right now. And honestly, it's not bad. I tend to think that going around and doing those Delta Volantis missions are a little bit too intensive for me. And I don't mean like, oh, it's hard or some shit, because it's easy. It's just that I had to get out in my spaceship, like literally fly over to Volantis and then do it or whatever. And I don't know about you, but like, you know, I really don't want to leave space dock unless I have like some specific cool reason to go out or whatever. I don't want to just go out every other day to go over to Volantis. That being said, I mean, it's not that far away. And I'm just going to completely move on to my next step. And at the same time, I'm going to contradict what I just said. So let's go ahead and move. I'm going to change characters. Just because this one is specific to Klingons. And this is an awesome character. One day I'll show you guys this, but he's all my bridge officers are Orion's slave girls, because
you have just earned your first skill points. Click here to learn more.
Oh yeah, I forgot. They updated skills, and I've yet to update this dude, so I gotta do that at some point. Okay, so for earning energy credits as a Klingon, follow all the previous steps beforehand. You can trade, you can do whatever. And if you're playing the auction, you're playing big. Or if you're playing the auction, you're playing, you know, with duty officers or whatever. Having the extra characters or whatnot is really good for extra space for duty officers, so you can sell them and recycle them. However, there's something I think better that you can do with your duty officers, and it's a little bit more intensive, but I would say the reward is a good bit better. So if you go to... I'm just going to go ahead and complete these. A lot of failures, it looks like. So... Alright, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to beam out, and we're going to take a look around for a second. There's my ship. I don't really use this carrier this character for any kind of fighting or nothing, so... Wait, somebody just sent me something. Maybe I've seen stuff. Yeah, it's probably seen stuff. Because nobody ever sends me messages here. Look at that, resellers. Okay. So the thing here is that you'd go out and you'd visit the other sectors. And you would look for any marauding missions that have to deal with freighters or anything kind of like that. I think Scavenge Minefield does it too. Not quite sure, so I'll go ahead and begin it. But I know any of them that mention the word freighters do it. And what will happen is that if you're successful, more than likely you'll get some contraband and contraband boxes. And if you have a lot of TAC officers, you can do, like, you know, you can do 20 of them, and you can do 20 missions where you get, you know, 1.5 contraband on average. So you're bringing in 20 to 30 contraband, right? And then, you know, after you're done for the day, you come in and you move your big ass towards the planet. You beam down. I don't know why I chose that carrier, because I was flying a little bird of prey beforehand. Now I'm like this huge carrier, and I'm like, oh, I forgot how it is, whatever. Yeah, pretty much you're just farming contraband, and then you're using the contraband. You're either turning it in for the dilithium, which is worthwhile, or you're selling it on the exchange. And this is the cool thing, because you can always turn it in for dilithium. You've pretty much got a price floor for how much your contraband is going to be worth on the market. So contraband will never, well, not, I don't want to say never, but it very rarely like goes down, you know what I'm saying? So let's take a look right now. Yeah, so 41,000 a pop or whatnot, and your average unranked, unleveled your average unranked, unleveled dude, or not dude, your average unranked, unleveled DOF is like 20,000, 25,000. Even your like blue DOFs and your purple DOFs or whatever, like they might reach 200,000, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't, a day's worth of contrabanding and going out easily blows those DOF missions for colonization out of the water, in my opinion. I guess it depends on like how lucky, but I mean, even like, okay, so you get, let's say with a freighter, you get 2 unmarked items that potentially could be contraband. Let's say, and you have a 50% chance that each one of them is going to be contraband. That means for each mission, you're going to get one other item, like a Romulan ale or some shit, and then another item, and that other item is more than likely going to be contraband. You know what I'm saying? So out of 20 missions per day, you're going to get roughly like 20 contraband, and so you're sitting on 20 times 40,000. That's 800,000 dilithium per day that you could be grinding out pretty easily. And like I said, if the price sinks too low, you always have another option with the contraband. You can just go and change it for dilithium, and we all know dilithium, you know, like that's several Zen points, so it doesn't, you know, like it's worthwhile to do that even. So, you know. And that's pretty much it for some basic ideas of how to generate energy credits in Star Trek Online in 2016. If you have any other cool ideas about how to generate energy credits, or questions you want to ask about exchanges and trading online, feel free to drop me a comment or send me some YouTube mail or whatever the hell YouTube does. Just drop me a comment and I'll try to get to you. I can talk to you about specific items on market, like the actual technique and stuff is pretty simple, and like you really, this video is probably too long just to teach you to buy low, sell high. I just wanted to be clear and concise because there's always one, there's one apple in the bunch that's not as shiny as the rest, so to speak. But if you have any specific questions, like, hey Chris, dude, is this going to be a good thing to trade in, or is this going to be a good thing to trade in? Like, feel free to message me or comment me on that kind of stuff, because that's the real nitty-gritty of the kind of stuff that I like. Because I like to take an economic analysis of anything that is being traded in, because then I get to do things like observe what complements are to that commodity, and what commodity complements, as well as things that are actually in competition with that commodity, and that kind of helps inform whether or not the price would be stable and whether it's a good thing to trade in. And I find that type of stuff interesting. So if you have any questions, like, please feel free to put them in the comment section. Please leave a like and stuff like that, because yeah, this game's fun and I enjoy trading for some reason. And y'all have a great day, and peace out. And I hope you make billions and billions of credits, you know. Peace.